All right. So it looks like we're going. So sorry I'm late, folks. I was trying to do the Facebook thing through Zoom, and unfortunately, I didn't have permission. Anyway, I was able to yesterday, but today I didn't have permission. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I'm sure it has something to do with me. So for all of you that are new or just joined the Wealthy Women, I'm Jami, and I am a retreat planner and a summit planner. I do both virtual and in-person experiences now that in-person is starting to be a thing again. And I look forward to connecting with all of you. Today's topic of discussion is how to find speakers for your virtual event. I know many people are still very weary of getting into larger groups or any groups that aren't their families or friends or people that they know. I know a lot of people are still a little nervous to, meet their internet besties in person just because there's so many, you know, the realm of the room or the elephant in the room. That's still a thing, it's still a problem. So I know some people have expressed interest in virtual events. Monica is hosting a summit next month, so stay tuned for that little ditty of information from her. But virtual events are a wonderful low-cost option to still allow an intimate networking connection with your community. Or with summits, it's a great way to boost your own community by utilizing your speakers community, if that makes any sense. Stay tuned at the end. I am going to tell you about the next masterclass I'm hosting, and I'll post the link below once we're done. So there is a little something at the end. Just going to dive in. So the topic of discussion, I know Monica asked this question, is how do you find speakers for your virtual event? And that's the topic of today. When you guys show up, just pop in the little chat and say your name and say hi. I would love to greet you. I'm so excited that you're here. And if you're watching the replay, also do hashtag replay so I know, and I'll come back and answer any questions that you guys might have. So when we're talking about speakers, I want to first talk about like some mistakes that people make, especially with being their first event. And I do have notes, so if you see me, look away. There are a few mistakes that some people make because it is their first event. They want to crutch on some of the things that they know. And the first mistake that I see or hear about most commonly is that they only pitch to people that they know. So us being a Facebook community, I know that we have, our group of biz besties, and we all want to level up. But I would challenge you to say that you all probably also run in the same community circles. So if your goal of your event is to bring in or get introduced to new people and new communities and new circles, don't only pitch to the people you know, because essentially it's just, an incestuous community cycle that you're not going to grow that way. You know what I mean? So the second mistake that I hear about is, and have experienced, is pitching to speakers whose audiences don't align with your own. So, I mean, I'm going to use a very, polar example first, with being that if you are, okay. So if you are a baseball coach, don't know why I chose baseball. It's probably because the Reds are playing. If you're a baseball coach and you want to host a summit on the health and wellness of increasing the longevity of your players, because that's probably important, keep your money healthy, then you wouldn't go and pitch like a business coach for teachers and say, hey, can you come in and teach? Or you wouldn't pitch like, I don't know, like some like a unique marketing or like a person to work at your summit. Like those don't make sense, and that's very polar, right? But to think about something that's a little bit more like closely knit, you may not consider pitching like a movement specialist at a like a spiritual retreat. Now they could be one and the same, or they could be very, very similar in alignment, but depending on who their audience is for the summit and the main niche of that movement specialist, they might not be a good fit, even though on the surface they seem to be complementary. So do a little bit of research when you're looking for speakers. Okay, the third mistake that I see most common are prioritizing big names over key topics. So we and this is understandable, right? Because the bigger the name, the bigger the audience and the bigger the pool, especially depending on where you are in the entrepreneur space. If you say, I'm going to have like Rachel Peterson come on and she's going to be my keynote and she's going to rock out all the marketing tips, right? And her audience doesn't align with your summit values or your summit mission or your summit goals, like it might not make sense to give Rachel Peterson, who is probably going to cost a pretty penny, it might not make sense to pay her and to bring her on and to showcase her if her niche and her market doesn't align with your goals of the summit. Instead, prioritize someone who is, you know, a mid-sized name in the niche itself in the target market. And that way you'll have more engagement by people who align more with what you're trying to do. All right, so those are the 3 key mistakes: pitching to or having all your friends join and not going outside of your comfort zone, pitching to speakers whose audiences don't align, and then only focusing on key big names and think that that's going to draw your sales tickets up. Let's move on to how you should find speakers for your summit or your virtual event. So one of the first tips, and it's contradictory to a mistake, but hear me out. The first tip is to start with who you know. I know that is contradictory to the mistake number 1, which is only pitch to your friends, but that doesn't mean that you can't pitch to any of your friends. It just means when you're thinking about your summit topic and your summit mission and your summit goal, do you know anyone currently in that space that has a small to medium-sized audience, that is very vocal, who is engaged on the internet and social media, and that would really have expertise that would align nicely with your mission? If so, then you already have that leg up and that warm lead to pitch to that speaker. I mean, it's probably like super simple to say, hey, Monica, will you be my keynote to talk about Instagram strategy? I'm doing a social media summit, and I think your expertise and your community would be excellent fit. Like, that's what you would want to do. So tip number 2 would be look for people you don't know. Start with thinking about what presentation topics align with your summit. Like, if your people, like, what's the mission of the summit? What do you want your attendees to walk away with? And then start jotting down presentation topics and then reverse engineer the speakers. So this means that finding key speakers that can fill those presentation topics well and pitch to them. The third tip I have for you is to search for other business with your target audience and then see who is kind of like engaging with them, or see what they're promoting and the topics that they're promoting. You might be able to do like a little handshake with them and have them have one of their representatives come on and speak about whatever topic that is. That's a little bit more broad. You're really getting down into the warm, you know, the circles of the 7th degree of separation, you know. And then the 4th topic that I want to talk about is speaker directories. So a speaker directory, there is one. I know that there was someone in the group yesterday asking how to be a speaker. There's, I have one example. It's called the Virtual Summit Search. And you can search for people on that platform who want to be speakers, and then kind of like what their title is, what their business is, and what their niche is. So if you want to be a speaker, or you want to find other people that align well with your mission, you can start there. I would never, actually, don't start there. You can finish up there. This is for like getting the dregs or like the last minute names for your summit. Another option is to pitch in Facebook groups and to ask your audience for recommendation. So again, this is still polling your audience or seeing who you might already be somewhat connected with, and say, like, you can go on a Facebook story, or sorry, an Instagram story, and be like, hey, does anybody know of someone who teaches how to consistently pin on Pinterest well to grow my engagement, or to boost my website views, or to, you know, enter in goal? And then they can say, oh yeah, I know Press, she's really good at it, and she came in and did a speaker, and or she did speaking at Monica's LVG. She would be great at this position. Let me connect you. Or say, like, this is her Instagram handle. So always poll the audience. Never think that like you can't utilize your current existing audience and give them who they want to list or like learn from. So those are quite a few tips. I have about, I think it was like five tips on how to find speakers, starting with your friends and then going out to people who you probably don't even know, and cold pitching. So I do want to give you some takeaways on how to figure out how many speakers you need, and then again, how to narrow down your options. You always want to pitch to twice as many speakers as you want spots filled. So that means that if you want 30 speakers, you need to pitch to 60 people. And I would do it in rounds. So like tier 1 would be like the rock stars, all stars. Tier 2 would be like just the next round, filling in spots. And then tier 3, you know, you follow through until you get all of the speaker slots filled. And then the perfect thing about doing it that way is you accumulate names for your next one. If you don't use them all, then you know you already have a list of people who would be great and qualified to speak at your next summit. So you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel the next time you want to hold a summit. Hi, Alea. And then also another tip when looking for speakers, go on their social medias and see, do they do video content well? Are they actively engaged with their audience? Because, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter how many followers they have on Instagram or how many people they have in their Facebook group if no one's engaging. Because a non-engaged audience is not going to buy tickets, and no tickets equal no money. So you really need to do a little vetting of your speakers before you even pitch them, to make sure that what they're currently doing is in alignment with, you know, actually having a successful summit. All right, guys. Those are my tips for finding speakers for your next virtual summit. I told you to stick around to the end. I'm just going to tell you about something I do have going on. I have a masterclass I'm doing next Friday, April 30th at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to talk about how to boost your business using virtual events. So I'll mostly be speaking about summits and how to get people onto your email list through virtual summits. And that way you have your email list, you can start your nurture sequence into turning them into a paid client. So that is happening again on April 30th at 6 o'clock. I'm trying to pull up the link right now. For whatever reason, Eventbrite is not having it. This is a free event, and all you need to do is register with Eventbrite. And it's going to be happening on Zoom. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so you can ask all the lovely questions. And I can't wait to see you guys there. So I hope you can make it. Again, April 30th, 6 o'clock. You're going to see it posted on here for sure in this group. And I'm also going to put a link in the comments below because I can't get the link fast enough for my liking. that is all. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Also, if you have any questions watching the replay, I will come back in and answer them later. Have a great Wednesday.